Alright, and we back on the forecast. So, I'm sure a lot of you remember the sister Charleena Lyles out in Seattle who was shot and killed by the police after she called the police for help. So, let's go back and see what happened to the sister and what they found out during their investigations.
Number 1.
7 bullets hit Charleena Lyles the day she had the fatal confrontation with police. Attorneys representing her estate say one was likely fatal.
Is a shot through the back.
Another was perhaps the most troubling, bullet number 2.
It entered the right side of her stomach. It also entered into her uterus and struck the fetus.
Attorneys Karen Kohler and Travis Jamison released the autopsy diagram today. They've taken the first step into suing the city after 2 Seattle police officers shot and killed the young mother last June. The officers, who were answering a burglary call at her home, say she suddenly pulled at least one knife on them.
Get back!
The attorneys argue they didn't need to shoot. Their sheer size difference gave them the advantage.
Travis is 6'1", and I'm Charlena's height, 5'3". One of the officers was another inch taller than Travis, and Charleena weighed somewhere between 15 and 20 pounds less than I do.
They also released her toxicology report showing no drugs were detected in her system, and they argue police failed to take her mental health history into consideration when coming to her home.
If I were somebody who had a mental condition that I was dealing with, I'd be terrified, and I'd be scared for my safety if I were to call the police, because I would be concerned that what happened to Charleena may happen to me.
Seattle police declined to comment on the autopsy report, but we did receive a joint statement from Lyle's sisters and cousins who were upset that the autopsy information was released without notifying them and preventing them from preparing her children if they hear the details.
So, Officer Stephen Mcnew and Jason Anderson ended up shooting this pregnant woman 7 times, with one of the bullets actually hitting the fetus, after she called them to report a burglary. Now, these 2 6-foot armed, professionally trained police officers says that Charleena, this small woman, grabbed a knife and threatened to stab them, leaving them no other choice but to shoot her. And according to the department's Force Review Board, they said the officers acted reasonably and within department policy and training. They said in a unanimous vote, the review board found that the officers used proper tactics and decision-making following their training and did not violate de-escalation and crisis intervention policies. And to no surprise, the police are able to kill this pregnant woman and not even get charged.
How y'all feel laying here chained while a white man walk about, do his pleasure with a black girl? Mayhaps you don't have no feelings at all, like that pecker would say. Feelings like some old dumb animal that don't count no harm. Y'all hear me?
In Africa, my people's born free.
That's right. Free men, not slaves. Masters of our own selves, and of the forest and the rivers and the mountains. Y'all think that deep down that Peckerwood don't know we's as human as he is? What for you reckon he keep us from learning and religion and reading? 'Cause they know. They's afeard that deep down we is human. Ma'am, you bring that copy out, Page?
Yeah, I got it.
Show these brethren how to read.
They have never had a problem killing our women. They have never had a problem killing our children. Now, Charleena Lyles did not have any drugs in her system. She had mental health issues, a history of it, and the police knows it. So it's still hard to criminalize her. But it would never be a problem to justify her murder. And the problem is, there is no repercussions for killing any of us. There is no repercussions for killing our women. There is no repercussions for killing our children. We ask them for the justice to please don't do it anymore. We have been okay with taking casualties. They have never been okay with taking any casualties. They have burnt down whole towns because of false allegations. Let alone when something really does happen, when one of them really does get murdered, they are willing to go to war behind it. We accept it, like with the brother Chance Gittens. He was also shot and killed by the same police department. He was shot in the back of the head. So let's see what led to the brother Chance Gittens getting murdered by the police. Justifiably.
Mark and Amanda, this is not a trial. It's called an inquest, and it's strictly so the county can determine the circumstances surrounding the death of 17-year-old Chance Gittens. He was shot and killed in January outside his family's home by deputies with the King County Sheriff's Department who were working undercover. The deputies were trying to contact a friend of the teen who they believed might have information about the death of a police officer's son 2 days earlier in Sammamish. During day one of the inquest, we heard from a detective who was there that night and said officers were on high alert as they approached the area, which they said could be a violent neighborhood with a history of aggression directed at police. The detective says deputies were trying to lure a person of interest out of a home, and almost as soon as that man and some others approached, he heard 2 volleys of gunshots. Chance Gittens was then on the ground, shot, badly injured, a semi-automatic pistol on the ground a few feet away. Their person of interest, who they believe was armed, ran off, and sheriff's deputies were concerned he might be circling back toward the scene where they were trying to revive Gittens. So it's still unclear who fired the shots at who and how Gittens ended up dead. We'll hear more from other deputies in the coming days. This inquest could take all week as attorneys for the deputies and attorneys for the teen's family ask a lot of questions, and a group of jurors listens closely. Once this is all wrapped up, it would be up to the county prosecutor to decide what, if anything, to do with all of this information.
So this young brother, Chance Gittens, who was 17 at the time, was shot in the back of the head by the police, not because he was the person suspected of committing a crime, but they suspected his friend of having something to do with the murder of a police officer. Now, they are not just going to let something like that ride. They are going to make sure there is going to be consequences for one of their people getting hurt or killed. So, according to the police, they show up to this house and they are undercover and they try to lure the person out of the house, whatever that means. Since when do undercover police try to lure people out of houses? And they say Chance Gittens and his friend come out of the house and they have weapons. And of course, according to the police, they say Chance and his friends shoot first, so they have no other choice but to shoot at him. But again, the evidence does not match the police story. Of course, they wouldn't have no body cameras since they're undercover police. But the weapon that they did find, it appears that he did not shoot the gun. It was still fully loaded. There was no bullet in the chamber. He was shot in the back of the head as if he was running away and they shot him in the back. Now, regardless of whatever his past is, because we've seen people with clean records, dirty records, it really doesn't matter. If you exercise your Second Amendment right, that is automatic license to shoot and kill you. No matter how hard we have fought to be a part of this nation, the Bill of Rights, the Constitution, just does not seem to apply to us. And every time we try to exercise it, it ends up backfiring on us. We really have no other choice but to protect ourselves, but to build our own thing, to build our own economies. When we had no other choice but to keep the money in our own communities, we built wealth very easily. We built schools. We created jobs for each other. The single parent rate was low. All of the ills in our community that we complain about today was not a problem. The one constant problem that we have always had, and it hasn't been the gender wars in the black community. It hasn't been colorism in the black community. It hasn't been self-hate in our community. Our problem has always been protecting ourselves from the dominant society. Because every time we build something up, build up what we need to build, they come in and destroy it. They come in and take it away. They take our culture, demonize us for it, and then sell it and make a profit off of it. And every single time we have picked ourselves up by our bootstraps and empowered ourselves and became successful, they have come to destroy it. And to make sure that we have to depend on them in order to be able to eat, to be able to live. We don't have to do that. The one thing that we should take from them is the mindset of give me liberty or give me death. In order for our children to be able to control their own destinies in the future, we have to step up and take control of our own destinies right now.
My son was a good kid. He is dead at 17. I'm not going to be quiet. It's not just going to disappear. I'm going to keep fighting, keep putting his name out there, keep letting people know who my Chance was.
Chance Gittens had a few brushes with the law for stealing and illegally carrying a gun. But his mom Alexis and dad Frank say this is who Chance really was. A funny, sharp high school senior killed 6 months before graduation. A writer, poet, and lover of science.
I don't want people remembering my son as some thug in the street shooting at police officers and getting into all kinds of trouble, because he was the complete opposite. He wasn't an angel. He was a typical kid.
But on January 27th, Chance was depicted as a person willing to shoot a gun at a law enforcement officer. That night, deputies showed up outside of his house in Des Moines, undercover. They weren't looking for Chance, but his friend, a person of interest in a high-profile crime that happened 3 days before in Sammamish. According to King County, they used a ruse to get the friend out of the house, but instead, 2 people came out with guns. In legal documents, a detective on the scene said that's when gunfire erupted, and one of the teens, Chance Gittens, was struck by gunfire and fell to the ground.
This boy was not the target of our investigation. He just showed up.
King County Sheriff John Urquhart.
And he brought a gun to a situation where he never should have.
And this is where there's a major split over what really happened that night. King County put out a press release saying one of the teens fired. Detectives returned fire and killed Chance Gittens. The media reported the news that Chance fired his weapon at detectives.
They want to slander his name in the paper about he was shooting a gun and things like that. None of that happened.
Documents obtained by King 5 show the gun found near Chance's body, a 9mm pistol, did not appear to have been fired. The on-scene detective wrote there was not a live round in the chamber, and the magazine in the gun was fully loaded. No bullets were missing.
The only shots that were fired by the officers, the King County Sheriff's Department, those are the only people that shot. My son, our son, was shot running, shot multiple times in the back, and a kill shot to the back of his head.
Asked about the state of the gun, the sheriff said it's still not clear to him what happened.
Whether he fired or not is a lingering question.
And at this point, has anyone from King County said, I'm sorry?
No.
We apologize?
No.
Alexis and Frank are waiting for an apology, and from the inquest, they're waiting for accountability.
They made a mistake. They made a fatal mistake. And I want them to admit it. I want them to acknowledge that.
There are so many questions about this death, and that is exactly what the inquest is supposed to get at. Did Chance Gittens point a gun at the deputies? Why was he shot in the back of the head? Could he have fired at police when the gun doesn't show any signs of that happening? A 6-member jury will be answering those questions.
It's sad that someone wants to be speaking on us in court that don't even know us.
Cousins and sisters of Charleena Lyles, today making emotional pleas.
This is someone who I just feel like is in it for financial gain. My sister's death is not anybody's financial gain.
That's right.
Amen.
They're asking attorney Karen Kohler to stay away from the inquest into Lyles' officer-involved June death.
Get back! Get back!
Kohler is the attorney who filed a civil wrongful death case against Seattle in September on behalf of Lyles' father, Charles, who lives in California. Until recently, Charles represented his daughter's estate. Kohler previously opposed the inquest. Now, she's asking a judge to be included in the process.
Because the inquest is going forward and the civil case is going forward, they're going to impact each other. So for us not to be there would not be a good thing.
These family members say no one told them in advance about the civil case, and now they're accusing Kohler of wanting to be involved in the inquest for the wrong reasons.
Everything is all about money, money, money.
Kohler says an inquest doesn't involve any money, and she's doing it for free.
I feel badly for the family. I just want to make this clear. I can tell that they feel disenfranchised. They feel not included, and that's really unfortunate.
But her only duty is to her client.
They have no legal rights. They have no interest in the civil suit at all. They have none. They don't have standing. They won't ever recover. They're never going to get their own day in court, ever.
The Renton Police Department has confirmed they're conducting a sexual assault investigation involving King County Sheriff John Urquhart. The sheriff has issued a statement in response saying the allegations were made by former Deputy Brian Barnes in an attempt to derail Urquhart's re-election campaign. Urquhart released the results of a polygraph test that he says show he didn't do it. In a statement, Urquhart says Barnes made the allegations in September on the 12th in an email to the sheriff's office. I ordered the allegations, he said, be forwarded to the Renton Police Department for a full investigation. I've cooperated fully. The sheriff also announced a counter lawsuit saying Barnes has been terrorizing people with impunity he doesn't like for far too long. It's time for Barnes to be held responsible for his actions. My lawsuit is intended to do that. Sheriff Urquhart also says this is the third time Barnes has leveled criminal allegations against an elected official right before an election, and that he was successfully sued for defamation in one of those cases.
Is Messiah a name or a title reserved for only one person? That's up for debate in Cott County. A Newport mother is appealing a court's decision after a judge ordered her son's name be changed from Messiah. 10 News reporter Heidi Wigdahl spoke with both parties. And Heidi, what brought about this decision?
Well, Jennifer, a judge can't change just any baby's name. The mother and father were in a child support hearing, and there had been a disagreement over what the child's last name should be. That's when the first name came into question.
At 7 months old, Jaleesa Martin's son is teething.
He has 2 at the bottom.
He's ready to crawl, but his name is still up for debate.
I was shocked.
His birth certificate reads Messiah Deshaun Martin, but Jaleesa and the father could not agree on a last name, which is how they ended up at a child support hearing in Cott County Chancery Court.
I thought out into the future.
Child support judge Luann Ballou ordered his name be Martin McCullough. It includes both parents' last names but leaves out Messiah.
The word Messiah is a title, and it's a title that has only been earned by one person, and that one person is Jesus Christ.
Never intended on that naming my son Messiah because it means God. And I didn't think a judge could make me change my baby's name because of her religious beliefs.
It's the first time Judge Ballou has ordered a first name change. She says the decision is best for the child growing up in a county with a large Christian population.
It could put him at odds with a lot of people, and at this point, he has had no choice in what his name is.
Everybody believes what they want, so I think I should be able to name my child what I want to name him.
Jaleesa's 2 older children are named Micah and Mason. She liked the name Messiah and thought it was unique.
What are your thoughts for children who are named Jesus or Jesus?
Well, I thought about that as well, and that's not relevant to this case.
Judge Ballou says the parents will have to change the name on the birth certificate, but Jaleesa is appealing the judge's decision. And regardless,
Will you still continue to call him Messiah?
Yes, I will.
What's in a name? For a Newport 7-month-old, it's a question with no single answer.
Martin says the appeal will go before the Cott County Chancellor on September 17th.
That's enough. Get in. Get in.
No, Massa.
God damn, get in there!
Massa Hammond. You can't know. Don't know what happened. You know I never do nothing again you, Massa. I always respect you. I didn't think he was somehow better than a white man. But you is just white.
You goddamn fool, man! Hammond! Put it down, ma'am.
No, Master, no. No, Master. No, don't come any further, Master. Don't.
Put it down!
Don't come any closer, Master, please. Please.
You crazy nigger! Drop that gun, you loony black bastard!